Paul Ryan has this disastrous plan to cut your Medicare. We've told you all about it. Medicaid, Social Security, et cetera. The Republicans are totally on board for that. Here's the only problem. The Democrats also want to do the same thing. And now they're getting a lot more out in the open about it. In fact, they've just come out and said, yeah, we're with the corporations, and the corporate CEOs are our new, masters, and we will serve them. And it's a fascinating little paradigm here, because really the Democrats are the corporatists and the Republicans are the nihilists. The Republicans represent the few incredibly rich people like the Koch brothers, Sheldon Adelson, Rupert Murdoch, et cetera, that want it all. Never a tax cut. Give me everything, everything, everything. Destroy the government. No regulations, et cetera. Now you've got the corporations that are saying, no. Listen, you guys are asking for too much. That's not going to work. We've got a great robbery in progress here. Stop screwing it up. Let's just take a ton of money from the American people, remove it from them, put it in our pockets, and hush up already. So it's a fascinating little contest. Who represents the American people? Not a soul. Not in this contest. So let me show you Stephen Pearlstein's article in the Washington Post. Now, he is commending these corporate CEOs and Democrats who are working together to take money out of your pocket on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. He says, quote, "Some grown-ups who have been noticeably absent from this conversation have been the heads of the country's major corporations who talk a good game about deficit reduction but haven't invested time, money, and political capital necessary to jolt the political system from its dysfunctional equilibrium." Now, so far that sounds good. He's saying, hey, you know what? This whole budget thing, the CEOs didn't weigh in on it, and they need to help, okay? Then he says, quote, "That's about to change. Last week, the first battalion of CEOs showed up in Washington reporting for duty." As if they're some sort of heroes, as if they're here to help you. No, their plan is literally cut the corporate tax rate so they pay less. And where are they going to get it from? They're going to get it from the middle class. So who's at these meetings? And now they are saying it out in the open, and it's reported everywhere. And in fact, they're publicizing it. Let me show you the list. Honeywell CEO Dave Cote, Aetna's CEO Mark Bertoloni, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon, Democratic Senator Mark Warner, Republican Senator Saxby Chambliss, former Senator Judd Gregg, was a Republican of New Hampshire, currently a Republican of Goldman Sachs, where he gets paid millions of dollars to represent them as he did in the Senate. Governor Ed Rendell, not only a former governor, but a former head of the DNC. Sandy Cutler of Eaton, Greg Sherrill of Tenneco, Marty Flanagan of Invesco, Gary Loveman of Caesars, Thomas Quinlan of R.R. Donnelly & Sons, financier Stephen Ratner, and Pete Peterson. Pete Peterson is your big tell there. He's the guy who's spent hundreds of millions of dollars pushing the idea of gutting Social Security, Medicare, et cetera, so they can get more tax cuts for the rich. Representative Steny Hoyer, number 2 Democrat in the House. Dick Durbin, number 2 Democrat in the Senate. Andy Stern, former president of the Service Employees International Union and current complete and utter corporate sellout. So these guys all come out and say, yeah, we're coming. The cavalry is here for the rich. And obviously, as you can tell, working hand in hand with the Democrats and some Republicans who are willing to play ball and who know where their real interests lie. So what are they going to do? According to Stephen Pearlstein, and in fact, according to their own public statements, they are going to spend $50 to $100 million, quote unquote, educating the American people. In other words, trying to hoodwink them that, hey, if we take money from you, it's going to be great for you in the form of tax cuts for us. All right, so now a little further explanation. Again, go to Stephen Pearlstein, who views all this very favorably. Of course, he's Washington media. Washington media loves the CEOs and the so-called centrists who rob us blind. He said last week the group, calling itself Fix the Debt, went public at a news conference urging the president and Congress to embrace a deficit reduction plan along the lines suggested by the bipartisan Simpson-Bowles Commission, which included reforms of a tax code that produces too little and entitlement programs that spend too much. So the real problem is your entitlements. I mean, you paid into Medicare and Social Security your whole life. But God damn it, we don't want to pay you back. We want more tax cuts. In fact, President Obama has already proposed lowering the top corporate tax rate from 35% to 28%. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So what are they going to take away from you? Well, as he explained, Simpson-Bowles. What's in Simpson-Bowles? The Social Security would be cut by 0.3% in the cost of living adjustments. Over 10 years, that obviously becomes 3%, which is a devastating cut from you guys. They're literally skimming off the top. They think, oh, you won't notice that little bit of money. Are you kidding me? They're barely existing on a lot of that money to begin with. Like I said, a third of the people who get Social Security rely on it for 90% of their income. You think they won't notice that it's gone? That you're doing basically it's almost like one of those computer programs that takes like a cent from each transaction. You remember in Office Space, the movie, they had one like that and then winds up being millions of dollars? In this case, it's billions and trillions of dollars that they're skimming off the top and putting in their pocket and being celebrated for the Washington media for it. It continues. Raise the retirement age of Social Security to 69. It's now currently going to get as high as 67. Every year that they take Social Security benefits away from you is over $10,000 out of your pocket. So if they raise it from 67 to 69, over $20,000 they're taking out of your pocket, putting it into theirs. This is the greatest robbery in American history. And then, of course, they're also going to raise the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 67, making it an even larger robbery. And what does the Washington media say about this? Here's Stephen Pearlstein at the end. So it's great that dozens of the nation's top business leaders have decided to join this fight and put some serious money behind it. They shouldn't waste their resources, however, trying to educate the public about the need to tame the deficit. Because why bother with the public? Democracy, the voters, who cares? Just take the money, and he says it. He literally says, take the money, spend it on the politicians instead. All you need is, according to him, 278 politicians? And if you buy those guys, you can get anything you want passed. He says you need 60 senators and 218 House members to get something passed. He's right. But it is brazen. Who gives a damn about our democracy? You want to rob Americans blind? You just go buy a couple of congressmen and senators, and you'll get the billions and trillions that you want. So don't get excited about President Obama. The minute he's put it back in office, if he wins, he's going to do this plan. You put it in stone. His next Treasury Secretary is likely to be Erskine Bowles of Simpson Bowles. That's Erskine Bowles, who came up with this robbery in the first place. That's the same guy that says Paul Ryan is a genius and knows math even better than I do, does deficit reduction even better than I do. These guys all ultimately agree. They're going to rob you and me to enrich themselves. So don't believe the hype on Democrats. They're corporatists to their core.